Hello students, in this video we will be seeing your chapter number 2 of science named as microorganisms, friend and foe. Foe means enemy. In class we have discussed about this in details. Let us have a quick revision on this chapter. You know that microorganisms, the word micro means very small. The organisms those exist having very small size we cannot see in our normal eye are called as microorganisms or microbes. Type of microbes can be 4 types: bacteria, fungi, protozoa and algae as discussed. Viruses are also microscopic in nature, we cannot see them, but they are little bit different from other microorganisms. Okay, some examples of different kind of diseases are given here, which are caused by different kind of the group of microorganisms. Some are bacterial disease, fungal disease, protozoan disease, algae also causes some disease, and viral diseases are also there. Okay, these are some pictures that is given in your book. I hope you all will be practicing this. I have discussed these diagrams in class also. Let us see, where do microorganisms live? Microorganisms either can live freely, they can be single celled, they can be multi-celled, but they can either exist freely or they take the help of other organisms. Okay, and they are made in such a way that they can survive in extremely cold conditions and extremely hot conditions. So there are lot of lot of varieties in these microorganisms, and all these microorganisms, some microorganisms can live in very hot conditions, some can live in very cold conditions, and some live in bodies of other animals. Some can exist freely in open. Okay, so let us recall microorganisms related to us, means human being, how human being and microorganisms are related to each other. If you remember, I had told you in class, like we make curd in our home, we make bread. The making of bread or the making of curd is nothing but a bacterial process. Also, some kind of soil fertility that you had studied in your earlier classes, like nitrogen fixing and all, these are also called by these are also caused by bacteria. And also we know that in medicinal field also we need the use of these bacteria in order to um, in order to uh, save our food from getting spoiled. Also we need the bacteria. So there are so many examples in which microorganisms are directly or indirectly related to us, they are helpful to us. Okay, so curd making process uses a bacteria called as lactobacillus. This lactobacillus is required for making curd. Okay, it the milk is converted into curd because of this lactobacillus. If lactobacillus is not there, there is no curd. Okay, then you also remember the commercial uses of microorganisms, how it is used in production of alcohol, wine, acetic acid, that is also called as, the common name is also called as vinegar. Then yeasts, how they are useful in making components like this. Okay, natural sugars like barley, wheat, rice also needs certain kind of bacteria. Now what is a term called fermentation? The process of conversion sugar into alcohol is called fermentation. Now fermentation was discovered by Louis Pasteur in the year 1857. This also we discussed in the class. Try to recall this, take it as your notes. Now coming to an important term, like we already said that microorganisms is related to us. So we need medicines to protect ourselves. So let us have a quick look how microorganisms play an important role in the medicinal field. Okay, so we know that there are certain medicines which kill or stop the growth of disease causing microorganisms. The microorganisms that causes diseases will be killed if we use some medicines. Those name of the name of such medicines are called antibiotics. Okay, so antibiotics can be produced from bacteria, it can be prepared from fungi. Some examples are given in your book like streptomycin, tetracycline and erythromycins are some very common examples of antibiotics that are used. Okay. Also, antibiotics are used to protect uh, the animal world, like in livestock or poultry. Also, antibiotics are given to the animals in order to protect them from the microbial infection. And in plant life, also, various plant diseases can be controlled by using the antibiotics. So, imagine the importance of we cannot see them, but they are so useful to us in our day-to-day life. We are protecting ourselves from diseases, we are protecting the plant world from diseases, then we are also protecting the animal from being, you know moving on. You know that when a disease carrying microbe will enter our body, human body, the body naturally produces something called as antibodies. This is important. Now, what is antibodies role? Antibody fights with the disease causing microbe. Now, one interesting and important concept that comes here is vaccination. What is vaccination? If dead or weakened microbes, these microbes that are entering our body, they are disease causing or disease carrying microbes. If they are dead, then the the body fights with them, and the invading means incoming bacteria which is causing disease, they fight with them and produce suitable antibodies. Now these antibodies remain in our body forever, and we are protected from diseases. Okay, this is how vaccine works. So if a question comes how vaccine works, this will be your answer. Okay, several diseases like cholera, tuberculosis, commonly called as TB, or smallpox, hepatitis can be prevented by vaccination. So we take vaccination. You must have taken all these vaccination in your childhood. You can take a note on that. Okay, also, another important use of these microorganisms is increasing the soil fertility. How soil fertility is increased? We know that soil fertility is increased by giving nitrogen fixers. So biologically, the nitrogen fixers naturally the nitrogen fixers are some bacteria that is belonging to the nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria. This is the example of this, or we also called it as blue green algae. So this is a group from algae. And the environment cleaning process also takes place with the help of some bacteria. Okay, so how now the plants that dies, the animals that dies, all those things are decomposed, and this decomposition takes place only because of bacteria and microbes. So certain microbes are there, microorganisms are there, without which the decomposition process will never be completed. Now, these are the useful parts. Let us take a look on the harmful part of the microorganisms. If disease causing microorganisms are called as pathogens. The microorganism that causes diseases are called pathogens. Okay, they not only spoil food but also clothing, leather, everything gets spoiled by these things. So these are the negative points of microorganisms. Positive part was preparing curd, then bread means food making, then we can go for vaccination, we can have a cleaner soil. Yes or no? These were the positive impacts of the microorganisms, but the negative side of the microorganisms is the disease causing microorganisms, that is the pathogens. Okay, so they keep on spoiling the food, clothing, leather, everything. Okay, now diseases can be communicable, as we know that there are human beings are dependent on air, water, and food. So if any kind of spoilage or contamination in air, water, or food, then diseases are produced, and these are called as communicable diseases. Also, through physical contact, means touching each other, this also can cause the disease, and these diseases are called as communicable disease. Communicable disease means one person to another person, another person to another person, like this. So common example are cholera, common cold, chickenpox, tuberculosis, like this. So these are the harmful parts of the microorganism. So the microorganisms affects or infects one person, and it passes to the healthy person. How? Through air, through water, through food, through physical contact, and so on. So the disease causing microorganisms are called pathogens, as we had stated earlier. Now, these pathogens may be carried by some other microorganisms also, those are called as carriers. So some animals, sometimes some animals or some insects acts as the carrier of the pathogens. Like for example, malaria is caused by mosquito. A anopheles female anopheles mosquito carries the dangerous pathogens of malaria, and it causes, when it bites us, it we get infected with the malaria. Okay, so we should keep our environment clean. Now the most important thing, it is given in page number 24. You can go through this, the table that shows that human diseases are caused by different kind of human diseases, different kind of microorganisms, through which mode they are transmitting, and what are the protective measures or preventive measures that we can take to protect ourselves. Similarly, the plant world also is affected by some diseases, and these are the name of some plant diseases, microorganisms that affect the diseases, that cause the disease, and the mode of transmission. So these two tables are very important for you to follow. We had discussed this in the class, and you should take a note on this. Okay, then these things are only written here, how the animal world is getting the harmful part of the microorganisms towards the animals, and how the microorganisms are harmful to the plants. So these are presented in these two tables. Okay, now sometimes the food poisoning is also because of some kind of um, microorganisms, which causes the food poisoning, and they produce very toxic substances, and we get very severely ill if we take some kind of wrong things. Okay, now this is one part. Another part is food preservation. What is preservation? Preservation to store, to protect the food from getting infected or being spoiled. This is called as preservation. Preservation means protection of food from getting spoiled. Okay, so how can we do this? These are very common things that you should know by this time, that we can take the help of chemical methods like using preservatives. It may be a salt, it may be an acid. If we go for acid, then sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite can be used as preservatives. They can be used to in jams and squashes to check their spoilage. Similarly, common salt, very common thing in our life, but it plays a very significant role. Like if you add it in meat or fish, we can store the food for a longer time. Okay, also we can preserve amla, raw mangoes, tamarind, by the help of this common salt. Similarly, sometimes sugars are also used as preservatives, like in jams and jellies and squash. You see that jams and jellies don't get spoiled for a long, we can keep it for a very long time. Similar, when you go for some pickles, making of some pickles, we add common salt. We also add oil and vinegar to them, so we can keep them for a very long time. Similarly, vegetables, fruits, fish, meat, these can also be uh, taken care of for a longer time by using oils and vinegars in order to prevent the spoilage. Now, heat and cold treatments are sometimes used. These are called as pasteurization. What is pasteurization? Milk is heated for 70 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 seconds, and suddenly it is chilled. Suddenly it is chilled to a very low temperature, and then it is stored. So this is called as pasteurization. Please take care of this spelling: pasteurisation, pasteurization. Okay. So these are some other benefits of microorganisms that you can see. Now coming to the natural phenomenon that is called as nitrogen fixation. In class 6 and 7 you had studied about a rhizobium bacteria which is found in the leguminous plant, which has a property that the root nodules of the leguminous plant, these bacteria are present, and their main function is to take the atmospheric nitrogen and fix it in the nodes. This is the natural way in which the you see the nodes are there, and in the nodes of the leguminous plant, the rhizobium bacteria are there, whose main job is to collect the atmospheric nitrogen directly. But this is a very complicated process. Normally nitrogen cannot be fixed directly by the plants and animals, but plants and animals need this very much. So for that reason we will be studying a new concept here called nitrogen cycle. So what is nitrogen cycle? Our atmosphere has almost 78% of nitrogen gas. Lot of nitrogen gas is present in our atmosphere, but this nitrogen gas that is present in our atmosphere cannot be directly taken by any plants or animals. Okay, so there is a specific process of taking and living, giving this nitrogen back to the atmosphere. So this type of concept of taking in nitrogen from the atmosphere and giving out nitrogen to the atmosphere is called as nitrogen cycle. So let us study it in details. Nitrogen is one of the essential constituents of all living organisms. That means all living organisms need nitrogen in some way or the other. Like our living organisms need nitrogen in terms of proteins, in the chlorophylls, in nucleic acids, in vitamins. Everything needs nitrogen as its constituent. So as we say that the atmospheric nitrogen cannot be directly taken by the plants and animals, certain bacteria like blue-green algae or cyanobacteria, or the nitrogen fixing bacteria, that is rhizobium and all, these are the natural processes of getting nitrogen from the atmosphere. But on the other hand, nitrogen can also be used for synthesis of plants proteins and other compounds. Animals also feed on plants. Now once nitrogen comes to the plant, animal is feeding on the plant, So animal is taking nitrogen from there and it is using in its building proteins and nitrogen compounds. Now once the plant and animals they die, the bacteria and fungi present in the soil converts the nitrogenous wastes into nitrogenous compounds, and then nitrogen is released back to the atmosphere. This is called as nitrogen cycle. Okay, here a circular kind of thing is given to you as the nitrogen cycle. In your book you can find it out. So here it is talking about the atmospheric nitrogen, how the atmospheric nitrogen is taken directly by the nitrogen fixing bacteria which fixes the atmospheric nitrogen. This is a direct process. Now after doing such thing, the bacteria turns the fixed nitrogen into nitrogenous compound which are taken as the nutrients to the soil. The bacteria again releases the gaseous nitrogen to the atmosphere. So this is one part. Next part is lightning. If lightning occurs, suddenly lot of nitrogen compounds comes to the soil. Okay, again these things will be taken care by the microorganisms. Also it can take by the plants. The nitrogen that are naturally present in the soil can be taken by the plants, and plant products are taken by the animals. So animal gets the nitrogen from the plants, okay, and use them. Then plant and animals after dying gets converted into nitrogenous wastes and then come back to the soil. In this way the nitrogen cycle is completed. This is a very very important concept, and expect these things to be asked somewhere. So nitrogen cycle should be clear. Okay, with this we end this chapter. Keywords has to be practiced by you. Take a note on the summary points. Okay, and I will be solving this question answer section of chapter number 2 as we have not done it in the class. So I will be trying to solve these questions uh, for you so that it will be convenient for you to answer. But the question answer of chapter number 1 was thoroughly discussed, which I had talked in the last video. So you take care of the chapter 1 question answers, but I will take care of the chapter 2 question answers and solve it for you and post it in your group as soon as possible. Till then, stay safe, take care, bye bye, thank you.